On today's Chasing the Game, we have Perrysburg girls soccer coach Jorge Diaz. We talk about his story, his coaching career as he gets ready for his final postseason. Chasing the Game starts right now. Welcome into Chasing the Game. Jorge Diaz is here. Jorge, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. We appreciate it so much. It's so great to finally have you on the show. Just how's life? How are things right now?
Oh, my pleasure. You know, this has been a very impactful year, given that I announced that this will be my last one. We have a very good team, and we just won the NLL by ourselves, and we had some goals, and now we're ready to go into the tournament. So it has been a good thing. It was my birthday, and so anniversary with my wife, 26 years. So it has been a great last couple months.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this time has been great for you. We're taping this on a Sunday right now. You had your big birthday, kind of end of the season celebration on Saturday night. How was that? There were a bunch of who's who there. Jeff Smith was there. Tyler Stegerman was there. So what was it like, kind of having all those people there to celebrate you?
It is awesome because over the course of the years, I have made tremendous friends with our community here in Perrysburg, and also been involved in sports. I have had a chance to meet, Jeff and Tyler and Dan Cummins. Was the one that started with me, for the most part when he was doing sports, and all my friends and players from 2012 team, players from 2017 team when we went to States, so it was neat to see them now all grown up.
This season has been so great for you guys, as you said. Why was 2025 the right season for you to retire? Why was now the time to retire?
Well, I think we have a tremendous team, but part of the reasons that I'm retiring too is because my son Alex is playing at University of Findlay, and having the schedule that I have, I'm missing a couple of games here and there, and I don't want to do that. So I decided that that will be my reason number one, so I can see his games, and reason number two, I think I put my time, and we have a great staff that God willing they can take over and the program, and I'm pretty fulfilled with what I have accomplished so far. So
yeah, well, it feels like the program is in good hands. At least that's what you're saying.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and how do you kind of think you'll spend the rest of retirement, other than watching your son Alex? How do you think you'll spend the rest of your time?
Sure. I think honestly, I love being around the players. So the Perrysburg boys side, Dennis, the head coach, he will let me be in the sidelines right there, and I'm pretty sure I will be hanging around once in a while there with the girls. I definitely think that I will miss it, but I think it's a next step for me. So
yeah, it's 17 seasons, I think, right?
Yes.
At Perrysburg, over 220 wins. I mean, it's been terrific, your career. How do you think that you did that? I know that's such a loaded question, but how do you think you were so successful at what you've done the last decade and a half, 2 decades?
Well, I think it all starts with, I'm a very passionate person, and maybe I was not the prototypical coach when I started, because I was very intense and very, I wanted to pass on some of the lessons that I learned playing football and in the drills that we applied during, soccer practice with the kids. And that has translated into establishing just certain things that we do every single year since I've been there. And some of the success that we have with those activities will continue, and some of the things that we don't really think too much of it, we drop them by. But for the most part, the program that Maddie Williams played, and Jerry Szynski and Josie Fowler, all those players, they all have done some similar things over the course of the season.
Yeah, and you guys have had a really talented senior class that has been really impactful for you guys the last few years. Camille Francis, Emma Ogdahl, so many people like that. What is it like having the senior class that has been so talented for you guys? A couple of first-team All-Ohio kids, just really talented senior class.
Well, for me personally, they were the very first kids that I coached at GTFC, that they were U7, U8, Right now the only junior in that class is Lauren McConaughey. She was, phenomenal. Then Camille progressed into a wonderful player. Sophie Mitchell, Emma Octo, so all those kids, right now, finishing as senior. I think that's another reason why I say, hey, maybe this is try to finish up with a bang, I guess, if you want to call it that way.
No, it feels like you said, you've raised these kids basically since they were, 7, 8 years old and watched them kind of grow up. And that's got to be emotional as a coach too. I mean, I'm sure you've seen plenty of people grown up, but to see this class specifically and how good they were and see them develop from when they were so young to now they're, realizing their dreams, like I said, first team All-State, and, getting to a state final, your state Final Four, those sort of things. It's got to be great as a coach. And like you said, it's sort of this kind of, end of a generation now. Sure. when they kind of graduate. So.
Sure, and honestly, I think that's, if it was like my dream would be just to end up in Columbus and having them being champions and then just wrap it up with a nice bow. I think we have the potential. We have a tough road. They send us to the Northeast. We play the winner of Stowe and Brunswick, and I personally think it's going to be Brunswick. And then Walsh chose to play on our bracket, so we would either play Walsh Jesuit if we are fortunate enough to finish with Brunswick. And then in the other bracket, you have Strongsville and Medina and Magnifica. So over the course of the season, we were able to play with some of those teams, and it's very hard to beat a team twice. But I think we're ready for the challenge. I'd rather play games that are meaningful than winning 7-0 or 8-0. So
sure, yeah, you want to be in those competitive games. You want to be 100%. A 2-1 game, a 1-0 game. Like those are the best.
Overtime, PKs maybe.
Right. You guys were 13-1-2 this season. Terrific record. Only 2 ties this season were to Anthony Wayne. I was at one of those games in September when you guys played at home. You guys tied them again in October. What's it like going up against that Anthony Wayne program that I know all those players, they know you. What's it like, kind of that back and forth, just this season, going back and forth with them this year?
This season specifically, 2 of my ex-players are coaches with Lori.
Yep.
Jess and Christina, and they have done a great job over there in Anthony Wayne. Lila Simon, who ended up being the player of the year, and she has had a tremendous year. And that game that we prepared for in September, she had a phenomenal, couple goals, and it is a difficult thing to kind of just see this kid, wow, that we prepare for it and so forth. But at the same time, Katie, the goalie for Anthony Wayne, also she was part of some of those little kids that I started coaching. She played on the field, and like around year 12 years or U12, she transferred into being a goalie, and I think she played one of the best games she had against us on that day. So we just tied that game. So that's what I remember. And going to their house, we knew it was going to be a battle, and we were always on our heels. They scored first, and then we tied them, then they score again, then we tied them again. So those battles are going to be, difficult to not forget about him. So
yeah, is it probably the most fun you have playing in conference against those teams, against the Anthony Waynes?
Yes, but Lori and I have had such a great relationship over the course of the years, and we were super good until 2017, and then she got from 2018 2023, and then right now we were kind of back and forth with each other. The only thing that I will miss is that now we're Division I, they're Division II, and we don't get to play in the playoffs. But this is the only year, like Lori, at the end of our last game, she gave me a big hug. Said, "Can I have a hug?" That's short. And it felt so good. It's kind of like all these, giant battles that we have. Just came to be. Hey, I mean, it's all good stuff. And then texting with each other, wishing her, a great run on tournament, and the same thing. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. Obviously, Anthony Wayne has developed into this great program, and I think we can attribute part of that to you guys, because you guys won that state title in 2012. You guys really elevated the level of play in the NLL, and so teams like Anthony Wayne had to step their game up. And, the NLL has gotten bigger now, and there's all more teams, and so it's really caused, the whole Northwest Ohio area to get really good at soccer. So I guess what I'm saying is, we give you credit for kind of elevating the level of play there. Again, sports is so important at Perrysburg. You guys, again, won the state title in 2012. It's so important to that community. The levy is obviously a hot button issue right now. People are going to vote on it in November. What's your take on all that happening right now? I know it's obviously something that a lot of people, not just in Perrysburg, but all across the state are talking about. What do you make of, this levy issue?
Well, my personal opinion is that it will be a shame if it doesn't pass. However, I think very strongly that it's going to pass. 49%. That's my prediction, and you can see what will happen. But for the most part, I understand both sides. I have seen some people that move into the community and they don't have any invested things on the kids. So some of them might be fixed income, and I totally understand that the financial burden that they might feel when the taxes go up a little bit. But at the same time, I'm always thinking that you plant a seed and tree grows, and you might not be necessarily there to see the tree grows, but you planted that seed. And the philosophy behind that is that hopefully, the people that even they don't have kids or any vested things, they can participate so that these kids get the opportunity to, to play or to, be in a concert, and so on, because, they're so important, the athletic portion of it with the education. My ex-players right now, doctors, engineers, leaders in their community, and that's what hopefully you give them some good lessons over the course of their school years and in the athletics and the competition and all the other good stuff. So I think it's very important, but at the same time, I totally understand. I wouldn't blame the person, like I said, financially, they don't have it. There's a lot of elderlies in community in Perrysburg, and it is the medication or the taxes. So I don't want to be put in a situation where I had to choose that. But hopefully there's more people that think that the future with the kids will be greater with sports or the extracurricular activities.
Sure, I have to be careful because I don't want to editorialize, but it is crazy to think about that there's a big Division I school like Perrysburg in Ohio that wouldn't have sports. Imagining Perrysburg without soccer or football or any of these sports would just be, very strange to kind of imagine, because sports is such a big thing in Northwest Ohio. Obviously, my job is sports reporting, so I have an interest in there being sports. And taxes are obviously an issue that people are concerned about, and rightfully so. Worrying about the taxes going up, but if there are no sports, then it might go straight to pay to play in order, like completely pay to play in order to preserve some of those sports. And so, in the short term and the long term, stuff's going to go way up in order to pay for your kid to play sports at all. So it's a very, complicated, nuanced issue that, again, I don't want to editorialize. I want to let people form their own opinion. But yeah, it would be a very strange thing if it didn't pass and there weren't sports. It's a very strange thing to imagine. I want to take it back to 2009 when you joined the program. You are co-head coach, right, for the program. What was that like joining Perrysburg in 2009? What was the program like back then before you really kind of got your hands all over it and it became, Jorge Diaz's program?
So let me backtrack to 2 years, 2007 and 2008. I was with Ottawa Hills, and we were fortunate enough to go to states. My wife at home, we just started our family, so she said, hey, why don't you try to coach close back home, in Perrysburg. And at that time, there was an opening for an assistant coach and JV coach. And I said, well, let's see if I can make myself winning the job there. I had one of my friends who had a daughter on the U13 team, and he said, come help me out. I don't know about soccer, please help me. And I started coaching U13 program at PSC Impact. PSC. Perrysburg Soccer
Pace Center,
Club.
yeah.
Perrysburg Soccer
Perrysburg
Club.
Soccer Club, okay, yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
So then it was almost the end of the season for them, and then I applied for the job, and Coach Murphy and Ray Pullman, the athletic director back then, you know, they hired me as an assistant coach, and the Perrysburg Soccer Club, you know, I said, you know what, I would like to coach and help you out, but let me start with the littlest ones. So I started coaching at Perrysburg Soccer Club, along with being the assistant coach at Perrysburg. Mike Murphy was there for 2 years. Margaret Bernard was JV coach, and then they hired me an assistant coach. And I was in Cancun, and my phone rings. It was Ray Pullman, and say, hey, you know, Mike Murphy is not going to return. And I said, at that time I was a pharmaceutical sales rep, and you know, so I couldn't commit to being, you know, fully head coach with all the responsibilities outside of the soccer side. But Ray Pullman said, hey, how about you and Margaret be co-head coaches, and you know, she can help you out with all the other stuff, along with, you know, she was awesome with the girls. So I said, sure, why not? And that's how everything started, you know, after Mike left. He later on went to Napoleon and coached there. But Margaret and I, you know, we knew that we had some great players, and we had some kids that would be coming up. And Maddie Williams was one. You know, she lived just a few doors from my house, and I saw her practicing every time in front of my house, and you know, goals and shooting. And I even went and practiced with her. And at that time, she decided that she wanted to do club soccer as opposed to playing high school, because she didn't know that I was, you know, gonna be there with Margaret. So that was her sophomore year. Junior year, you know, she decided to come play with us because she knew that there were a lot of great players coming up down the road. And so that 2012 team, it was just amazing. All the pieces starting to come together. But they were a tremendous team. You know, that was why, you know, undefeated. I never put it on my goals that we were going to be undefeated. It just so happened by the desire that they had to win. You know, our motto, both at Ottawa Hills and I brought to Perrysburg, was don't let good enough, be great. You know, and they hang on to that in so many levels. You know, that I don't know, we're just the only Perrysburg team that has won undefeated in 2012. So.
Yeah, it's
that answered your question.
That absolutely answered my question. Was that the greatest moment of your coaching career, is winning that state title? This season notwithstanding, is that kind of the greatest moment? Oh
yeah, you know, this is just like, it was unbelievable, and to see it and share it with my kids, my wife, the community, the whole Perrysburg town was there, and almost like in the Cruise Stadium, and you can see sign Perrysburg 23-0. I have pictures, and it was awesome. And I don't know, I just thank God for the opportunity, and he made it all go through. So
yeah, no, it's an incredible story. That's just the coaching part of it. Your whole life story is incredible. You grew up in Mexico, right? How did you get to America?
Well, my dad's brother, he was a surgeon in Maryland, and he invited me one Christmas, and he had a beautiful house, had 2 big pine trees, and I just started kicking. And he said, you kick the ball pretty good. So I said, well, in Mexico, I'm playing soccer, but I also, you know, play a little bit of football. So he called his partner, and he was the physician for the University of Maryland, to watch me kick. So we went to a park nearby, kicked some field goals, and he said, Jorge, you got to go back to Mexico. When you go back to Mexico, make a tape, and we'll take it. At that time, it was Bobby Ross, the coach for University of Maryland. So I went back home, and all of a sudden, 3 months, you know, we sent a tape and all the other stuff, and they wanted me to come over, you know. So, well, I don't have any money. So my uncle said, don't worry, come over and I'll help you out. You get a scholarship, then we're good, but I'm excited for you and so forth. So went back to Mexico and kind of made a little bit of money, came back. But that summer, just before the tryouts, I ruptured my Achilles tendon during a kicking camp right there in Maryland. And that forced me to go to junior college. At that time, all that things happened. Bobby Ross left, I think he went to Georgia Tech, if I recall correctly. And then Coach Krivak came in. He didn't want to, he didn't have nothing, with me. So I went to junior college and make my way back. I thought that I was going to end up just playing 1 year in Maryland and go to Maryland. But then one of the coaching staff took me to Morningside College for a visit, after I was playing right there in our junior college in Montgomery College, and ended up getting a full ride, Division II school. We used to play North Dakota, North Dakota State, UNO, and so it was a great career. Phil Hansen, I used to play against Phil Hansen, Bills. He's huge. So when I kick a field goal, I would, you see Bills like.
No, it was great. I remember reading you were an NAIA All-American or something, right? When you were at Morningside?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just incredible. So, it sounds like you did well for yourself after what was, that's not a great injury to have as the Achilles. So,
I know.
So you do have a little, we can't get like a close-up shot of it, but there's an injury there on your ankle, which, just incredible that you came back from that. So after college, how soon are you getting into coaching? What do you do after that?
So, I was in Maryland, and I met my wife there. We were going to get married here in Ohio. I was in pharmaceutical sales, and my job brought me to say, well, we have an opportunity in Dayton, Pittsburgh, and Toledo. So they flew, and my wife originally said, well, I don't know, hopefully not Toledo. But her mom lived in Cleveland, and her sister in Columbus. But I was like, hey, it is pretty central.
Yeah.
And we went around 475, and it was no traffic being in from DC. So that for me sold me first, And then we were in between Perrysburg and Sylvania, and then, but my territory in the pharmaceutical industry was going to be going to Lima, going to some south. So I said, Perrysburg is going to be great.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Maumee Soccer Center just for myself, just to see if I can play some soccer with some people. And that's when I found a team. Said, just come play with us. And I said, I'll be happy to pay. And so, sure. So I play, I score a couple of goals. Hey, you got to come back. That's the schedule. So it was pretty cool how it all happened. And one of those people, one of my friends, said, hey, I'm coaching, here in Perrysburg Soccer Club. And, we don't know anything about it. Back in the days, a few people have played, soccer. They were athletes, but, now coaches, but they didn't know how to teach the foot skills and so forth. Yeah. So I said, well, I'd be glad to help you out. So that's kind of how all started. And then back then, like I said, one of those friends that came watch me play, I played with Greg McElroy and in an over 30 league, and that's how I ended up in Ottawa Hills. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Wow. So you have just had this incredible story, and then obviously eventually you get to Ottawa Hills, right? And you're an assistant, and kind of the rest is history from there. So. It's just, I think you're one of the most fascinating people I've ever interviewed. Seriously, I don't mean to, I've given you plenty of praise before, and it's just an incredible career that you've had. And so hopefully you guys are able to finish out this season the way you guys want to. I know what you're aiming towards. I know what this team is aiming towards. So, and you guys get your tournament journey started October 25th, right? Yes. You guys are in North Ridgeville. Yes. And you take on the winner of one of those two teams. Stowe and Brunswick. Stowe and Brunswick. So, and we'll see from there. So, Jorge, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. My friend. Absolutely. Appreciate it so much. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of Chasing the Game. Be sure to check out all of our episodes on the WTOL 11 Plus app, which you can download for free on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, or Apple TV. You can also watch and listen for free on YouTube and on Spotify. We'll see you guys next time.